This is Eric Rutan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew McKay Smith.
G'day everybody, welcome to the show. I've got a killer conversation with Darren Travis, who is the guitarist and frontman in Sadus. Now, the compelling event behind our introduction is due to the launch of a new album from the group, this time through Nuclear Blast. It's called The Shadow Inside, and rest assured, it is an absolute cracker, one of the albums of the year, without a doubt. And we're getting to that point where I'm starting to think about these things. Throughout this chat, of course, we talk about the album, but we go deeper, much deeper, as regular listeners know. Get to the bottom of why Steve Di Giorgio, the great Steve Di Giorgio, was not on the album, didn't feature. His bass lines are absent. We answer that question, and whether or not Steve can return to the group. Is the door still ajar? All that and much, much more await. I've selected a tune for your listening pleasure. It is titled Scorched and Burnt, but only if you've tuned in via the podcast apps. You good people on YouTube, you know the drill, can't play music on that bloody platform. Either way, let's go.
One man came with his way. One man came with his way to show them what has been. With nothing lost at our cost, to bring them to their knees. Painted white, never seen, scorched, burnt, flaming. Time is blind, the ways of old. The world just burns out of control. Scorched and burnt.
Here he is.
What's up, Andrew?
Mate, look, I'm going very well. How are you?
Good. Nice to see you. How's it going?
Yeah, great. I love the fact that you got your guitar in your hand. That's awesome. Or is it a bass? I can just see the top of the fretboard. There you go. Yeah. Nice work. Oh, nice work, mate. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. Is that a dime special, that one? Washburn?
ML. Just ML.
Gotcha.
I think.
Nice.
I don't know. I don't know what they call it. It's just it is a Dean though. Yeah.
Is that your main rig, that one there? Your main axe?
I used it on the album this last time, and also used this other one here. Let me show you. I got Scott Barvnek
Oh, look at that. Yeah. Nice.
SP V. He made me.
Uh-huh.
I used that on the first 6 songs, and then on the last, and then I got a hookup with Chris got me a hookup with this ML, and it fucking just rips, man. It's killer. With the SP custom has EMG 81s, and then the new Dean has the Fishman pickups. Man, those things are freaking.
I've got Fishman in my Strat too. Yeah, they are fantastic. Very sensitive.
I've always been EMG 81, since 81. So it was nice to try the Fishman. I really fucking dig it.
Mm. No, that's sweet. Did you play bass on the album as well?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
How was that for you? Was that something that was? I know you played bass, and I've known that, but Steve's. There it is. There, yeah, gotcha. I mean, Steve's a heck of a bassist. Probably the most remarkable bassist in rock and metal.
What's that?
Steve. Following
the Rick.
Yeah. Well, there you go, the Rick. Yeah, you like that clunky? You like that sound?
Fuck yeah, that's what That's what we've always had.
Yeah. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. I find them challenging to play. I play a 5, and I've only picked one up in a guitar shop every once in a while, and their neck isn't fast, as you know, but they've got a lot of character. My
hands are not the freaking monsters either, and man, some of the stuff down when you freaking, it's quite the stretch. It's good though. I really like the Rick.
Well, I can hear that now. I like the fact that you really dug into the groove there with the Rick.
Yeah. I surprised myself. I was like, damn, I fucking had a really good time playing bass. I would like to do it again. So anybody needs a bass player.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. What about live though? Do you think have you made your mind up about which one you want to play live, or are you just going to stick to the guitar?
I have to play the guitar. I was thinking I would do the bass just so nobody would, just tear the person apart who's playing bass with us. Whoever that person may be is in for I was like, maybe that should just be me. I hate to put somebody in that position. Nobody can replace Steve Di Giorgio. The guy's a fucking monster. And, for me to even try was enough, and that's one of the reasons, that I played bass on the Shadow Inside, is just out of respect for Steve. He's just busy, and not that he just didn't have time to really write with us on the record. So he felt left out, I believe. And so out of respect for Steve, I played bass. I would never bring somebody in and still call it Sadus, for this record. I was like, it's a comeback record, and for us to call it Sadus, it's got to be a duel. It can't be. I can't bring somebody in to play bass, and so I did my best.
You did a great job. So, in terms of touring and the like, and performing around town, will Steve potentially be part of that?
The door's open, if he's around, and he's we're still we're bros, we've grown up together. So it's, I see him every once in a while, and it's just like the same as always. So if he's around, but he's a busy guy. So, maybe we might have somebody help us out. And who knows, I'm just going day to day. I'm just kind of tripping that I'm even got an album coming out in 2 days, and it's fucking blows my mind.
One day for us.
One day. Nice. That's right.
So what inspired the album title, The Shadow Inside?
So the album title was like, after like we recorded all the songs and everything was kind of done. We were like, what are we going to call this thing? And there's kind of a thread through all the lyrics. It's like it's like what's inside us that makes us fucking make metal. It's what's inside us. Like for me, I haven't, we all do. We live in a society with constant anxiety. Everybody's in a fucking bad mood. Everybody wants to freaking beat up everybody. And you cut me off and you're a motherfucker and I'm going to fucking kill this motherfucker. Well, I come home and I grab the guitar instead of freaking beating somebody's skull in. So that's my little outlet. And it has a constant, that amongst, that fire that we have inside us that you just really need to, as I hate to be, but as males, we all have like, I'm sorry. We all have like, got to get that shit out. And it had a common thread of like, the devil in me, those different feelings that we have that are, that it runs through the album, what I was feeling when I was writing. I mean, if you listen to the lyrics, I believe that you'll maybe understand what I was kind of going through at the time. A lot of people, like, I'm doing interviews and they're like, man, scorched and burnt. Do you do because the world's on fire, or, and it's a metaphor.
Of course.
The world is on fire, we all,
oh God,
these fires are going crazy. Everything's on fire. At the time I was writing it, okay, yeah, but it's also a metaphor for like what's happening to myself. Somebody freaking, you have issues with people, relationships, you were scorched and burnt. You were burnt also. So it goes both ways. So if you think about it that way, and when you listen to the song, you're like, okay, it's not just about a fire, even though there's fire at the end. That was John's idea. There's fire at the end.
Yeah, cool, man. Yeah, I tell you what, album cover of the year. I'll hand it to you on that one there. Amazing.
Cool. Yeah, we worked really hard on that. All three of us, me, John, and Trav. We explained exactly what the whole concept of the shadow inside, like we were saying, the feeling throughout the record. It's like trying to think of what we're going to call this, but there is a thread through it, and we're like, the shadow. That's what I was like, and then John was like, the shadow inside. It's like, okay, yeah. And then it kind of goes right with the art, So we were like trying to explain to Trav, and he just came up with a great concept and great art. Man, the guy's amazing.
Yeah, technical death and thrash seems to have a connection to images associated with the deep cosmos, though, and I love the way you've blended. The thematic concept is to blend the skull, the very underpinnings of us as human beings, into the rest of the cosmos. I love the way you've done that.
Thank you. Yeah, that was the whole thing. It's like, it's not just, it's a feeling. It's not an entity. It's more like kind of represents the feeling of trapped and that whole thing of somebody having the different feelings inside them.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. Did this, in terms of your songwriting though, are these recent songs, or have you had these in the riff bank, so to speak?
Yeah, so I got when I first got an iPhone, I was like, what? I could plug my guitar into my iPhone? And I download one of those apps with a full studio on it. And I was like, I have then I got like Jam Up Pro with a freaking killer amp. And I would get like not Pro Logic, but just a little app on my phone, and drum machine. And I just started just writing riffs, and that was kind of what inspired me. Like about 5 or 6 years ago, I wrote about like 60 songs on my phone, and then it always sucks when you get it. You put it on your phone, and then you have to upgrade to a newer phone, and then how do you transfer all that shit that you just wrote? Well, I had like 60 songs, and so I've been writing in the last. So that's kind of why it's a variety of the album. It's just like what I was going through at the time and how I was feeling, and what I was writing on with the riffs, and the vocals, lyrics.
Yeah. You're one of the only people I think I can actually ask this question of. Does the songwriting dynamic, so your melodies, the scales you imbue within the riffs, that type of thing, the modes that you use, does that influence your lyrics? Do you understand what I mean when I ask that?
I might have I always more like would have an idea of maybe how a vocal pattern would go. I would go, this would work. And that's kind of my problem is like, I almost sing too much because I'm like, this fucking riff is killer. And oh my God, I could put a fucking vocal on there and make it even better. And then every fucking riff has to have a vocal. So I'm killing myself out here, But that's kind of how I do it. Of like I have the riff, and then I'm like, I just picture like maybe how something can float over it, or maybe it needs to attack on the syllable, with the punch, or maybe go off the punch. And just when you're writing, or when I'm just thinking that, and John too, he will throw that in. Maybe don't do it on the, on the chord, do it off the chord, or so we like just try to make it a little interesting that way.
Yeah, you've always done that. You've always been very good at being able to do that. Yeah. What about, were there any, as we all get older, we all start incorporating different elements as musicians, different elements of other music into our sounds that we naturally have. Okay. But did you intentionally try anything different this time around?
No, it's like kind of, we always had that. I think your question is like the variation of music, like how it's
sure. How are you evolving? In other words, yeah.
It's not just linear. It rolls. It travels. I want it to make it more interesting for the player and the listener. As in, it's better if it takes you somewhere. And the fast stuff sounds faster. The heavier stuff sounds heavier. When you can emphasize on the way the vocal goes and how I can emphasize and bring it to a higher level with with the drums building as it goes. It's at, I lost my train of thought, man, but
you're right. Oh, I get where you're coming from with it all. Yeah. I like the way
the dynamics. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. I was just going like, that's kind of like what we've always been into. And especially like when we go to practice, you're not playing freaking just all the time. We like freaking burn a fatty, and you're like, oh man, I was just fucking zone out on some flange over here, And so you start tripping, and you're like, man, you really want to bring some of that into the flavor of the fucking brutality, so that it makes everything just people. That's how we've always had it. Like, you listen to Crutch or some of the older material, even Facelift, it starts to build. Back in the day, that's just, we always tried to have a little bit of not just be linear, but travel, give the listener a ride, and have peaks and valleys, and that's kind of what we were thinking with the whole record. And at the end, I really wanted to incorporate some of that. That's what the track 9, New Beginnings, just threw that in there just to throw people where they're like, what the fuck is this? Or maybe, some people will get it and they'll be like, just cruise with it, man. Just vibe.
Yeah, it's a great explanation of it. Yeah, I love the way you talked about it being non-linear, that it's something that has peaks and valleys and troughs and tabletops, and you expect the unexpected, in other words, when it comes to Sadus.
I hope so. That's what I'm trying to do, but not too much. Not even, not to just do it just because. Sometimes you do though. What the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. What about with the industry changing so much, especially even, I know the last album wasn't too long ago, okay, given the very long history of the band, but still, with streaming platforms being as all pervasive as what they are these days, and no doubt you have a built-in audience, you've got a loyal audience, so they'll support you through physical product, but it won't be as much as, of course, as it will be, say, in decades gone by. So how do you see the album reaching your audience differently than past albums?
And it was always just word of mouth back then. You maybe were lucky getting some zines, and there was no internet, Well, 2006 there was. For the last record, of course. What am I thinking? But back in the old days, it was all about just word of mouth. And then, the internet came. And then now I had somebody, people were telling me, you got to freaking do some social media stuff. And I was like, fuck that shit. I ain't doing that crap. And eventually I had some people that were just hounding me to do it. Like, you have to freaking represent. And I was like, all right. So that was probably in 2017 or 18. I made a couple things. So it gives it gives you a platform, at least, to get the stuff out to everybody all the time. It's pretty cool. I really dig it. I put stuff out there almost too much. Sometimes I think there's the rule, you never go put something out there when you're drunk. But you always seem to put something out there when you're drunk or buzzed or whatever you're doing.
It's all right, as long as it's the only rule I think should be applied universally to any forward-thinking person is don't air opinions about politics and religion when you're drunk. Everything else is on the table, because the problem is you just feel guilty the next morning or what have you if you wake up and you've argued with some idiot on Twitter or whatever it might be. But no, I mean, you probably get the same things that people, I like your first album, don't like your last album, all this sort of stuff. And there's no point arguing with people like that because they're not along for the journey anyway, regardless.
Right. I don't really scroll a whole lot. I would just kind of just participate with something get something I'm doing, more or less on the social media. But since it was been pretty nice, I have Nuclear Blast is helping me with all that stuff now. So I don't really participate too much. I do on Fridays, most of the time I'm like, okay, I'll put something out on Friday. But other than that, I try to stay off it pretty much.
Yeah. Yep, good strategy actually on that one there. Plus, you know what metal fans are like. We find the bands that we want to listen to, and Nuclear Blast are about the biggest label there is around for metal bands these days, mate. And they've got a very strong social media presence, and they can line up things like this through John, and your audience finds you. In my view, it's maybe 5% bigger if you went and did a personal social media campaign, but I mean, I'm just pulling a number out of thin air, but I don't think it'd be much more than what you're doing, despite all the extra energy and effort you'd have to put into it.
Right.
Yeah. What's your thoughts now on Out for Blood? It's not 20 years, it's 17 years ago that album was released, but does it feel like it was yesterday?
No, it feels like it was pretty long time ago. It's kind of, but only because I've had a lot of shit happen and recently. So it's
yeah,
it's been a while, man. But I love that record. That's a fucking great record, man. In my mind, at least. Some people don't like it.
I know. Yeah, that's why I ask you about it. I've noticed some of the comments out there, and I think people misunderstand it because it's probably your heaviest album. Certainly, it's very dirgy, isn't it? In other words, it takes you on a real trip right down through it, doesn't it?
That's what we're going for, right? It's we want to have fun and freaking go places, and with your art. So if you're just doing the same thing over and over, it's not that interesting. So we always would try to incorporate some new aspect to make it fresh. And some people just don't dig that, man. They're like, fuck, I just want the fucking, You know,
there's a lot of people out there like that. Yeah, I know. It's
I mean, we're known for it too. So it's like, what the fuck? Just fucking lie. And I was like, all right, but we gotta fucking, gotta take you on a journey, man.
yeah, I know. That's what it's about. Particularly, and the other thing too is that you've released these killer albums like Swallowed in Black and A Vision of Misery, so they're always there. So if fans want that sound, they can go to those albums. It's not like Out for Blood is heavier than the rest of your catalogue, in my opinion. So when you compare, it's parts of it are slower. Certainly, Steve's playing on it's magnificent. If people want the old sound, they can easily pick up Illusions and go, right, here it is. It's not like, you're stopping them from picking up what the band was originally, what the band started out originally.
Yeah. That's a long time ago, though, man. It's almost been 40 years. Freaking Sadus. That's crazy. Can't believe it.
Do you look back fondly to those early days?
Oh, of course. But it's fucking youth, man. We had a great time. It's awesome.
What's a prominent memory from back then for you?
Oh, man, we used to just fly by the seat of our pants, man. We booked shows at the Stone, and back then you had to pay to play. So we would book a show at the Stone or Rock on Broadway in San Francisco, and we'd sell all our tickets around the corner right before the show, and then you hand like freaking the guys the money, and it's all hard being a band. A lot of effort and a lot of time and a lot of good times.
What's the greatest challenge you think you've had to overcome in all these years?
I don't really know what to say about that challenge. For music, we don't really. I guess my biggest challenge, especially like for this, it was just being on my own, writing by myself. Usually I always have somebody that's like to bounce stuff off of. And for a long period on this record, it was just me, and I was just doing everything myself. And it was hard. I think that was a big challenge. Normally we would have, a few people in the room, or, you'd be playing or hatching out in the practice pad, and everybody would put their 2 cents in, and it'd be collaborative effort. But just being by yourself, you're like, I don't even know if this is, you write some riffs, and the next day you listen to it and you go, fuck, that sounds like shit. What were you fucking on, And you don't have that person to say, no, man, listen, you could freaking change it up, and I got this beat, or something, you don't really know what's happening until it's done.
Do you prefer to have John next to you when you're sort of figuring these things out, or do you back yourself a bit more these days?
I mostly have like it pretty much dialed in, at least these days, like exactly, a good portion of the song. And then it may change though, or you may cut that, or man, that sounds like somebody, or you're like, I don't even know who that is. And he's like, he'll tell me, because I don't really listen to a lot of music, but he's really good for that. Oh, let's change that riff because it sounds like something or that I might have heard, or like, really? Okay. So yeah, so it's good to have that person. And that's like, goes back to the biggest challenge. I'm just like, I'm just fucking playing what I'm playing. All right.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. It's hard not to think of Sadus and not to think of Steve though, too. So is it possible? Of course it's possible, but how likely is it that you would team up with Testament and maybe open for them and have Steve playing bass on the tour?
I wouldn't want to tour with Testament.
Hmm.
Not to say that bad. I just we played with Testament a bunch of times, and that's just not a tour I would want to get on. I'll just say that.
No vibe?
What's that?
No vibe? Like you didn't enjoy the vibe or something else?
We had a writer. Nah, I don't know. It's no big deal. That would be awesome, actually. I'll go with it. I'll just change my attitude and say, I would love to tour with Testament and Steve, but that would be too much for Steve to do double duty. I think. I don't know. We're playing with Testament actually in August, beginning of August, on the festival in Europe.
Okay.
Testament's also on that. I'm not sure what day they're playing, so I'm not sure what's going to happen with the whole Steve thing. But I would, the door's always open for Steve, and he's a brother, man. He's a freaking monster.
But who would you, if you had your pick of any bands, 3 bands, so you and 2 other bands, who would you like to tour with? Money isn't an obstacle. There you go.
And probably I like to tour with Obituary. I like those guys. We have a good time, man. Obituary. I like the Deicide guys. I like all Sepultura guys, man. Cavalera. Creator guys. We have friends. It goes. I mean, Cannibal Corpse. All our friends are. I mean, I'm friends with everybody. It's been a lot of years. I know just about everybody. So I'm not really thinking that I want to be on a big tour though right now. I'm just going to get my feet wet, and then we'll see what happens.
Have you played in Australia before?
I have not. We're freaking pretty. We sold a lot of records back in the day in Australia. I was just telling somebody about that. Semaphore Records used to buy the shit out of the Illusions album back when we were just putting them in boxes. 1989. We sold at least 8,000 records in Australia, New Zealand area. Well, Semaphore Records back in the day.
Yeah, I remember your name being mentioned back in the day. I didn't know where to go to buy this stuff, but it was common knowledge amongst the musicians when you're starting out that if you wanted to get into the extreme metal bands that really had it going on, there was 2. There was Cynic and Sadus. Is that the impression that you got as well from fans?
No, not really. I don't remember it that way.
There are other bands, Cannibal Corpse, sure, Deicide, but in terms of just bands that had wall-to-wall musicianship without getting into that mathcore thing or that djenty thing, this is 1993, 1994. Before those other bands came along and Dillinger Escape Plan and all that sort of stuff. If you really wanted technical stuff, it was you guys and Cynic. I remember those days.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we were just like I said, having fun and let's just change and make that one riff into 4 by just very, very subtle changes, have each guy in the band, you write one, I'll write the next one. Like the end of Good Riddance, we did that. Every person had to write, pick up the guitar. Okay, here you go. You have it now, and how's it yours go? And then you just have the problem of how did your riff go? After you're playing it, you used to just the one. So that's but people thought that was being technical or whatever. I don't know. Just sounded like having fun to me with your instrument,
Oh, I hear. I understand I understand your perspective, but when you're a young musician and you're trying to learn stuff and you're playing along and to your point, you've got to learn 4 different riffs in the space of about 30 seconds. It tends to get labeled that way.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But you got to remember it all, especially you'll understand this no doubt, but I'll play covers, you see, and you have to step into the shoes of the guitarist or the bass player whose music you're playing or performing. And in particular, it's more so with bass than guitar, I've got to say. But sometimes I play along to these bass lines and I think I can tell when they're a studio monster where someone's cut it apart and then put it together like a jigsaw puzzle or what have you, because it's not linear. Doesn't make sense for where it's going to. Musically, it works, but there's a physical aspect of it as well. And I often think with bands like Sadus, how would it be on a long tour would be okay, but if you just have these once-off shows, you must have to rehearse quite a bit beforehand, I take it.
Yeah, it's almost not even worth it. You got to go out for a while.
Yeah.
Just at least, it's not worth. Why would you rehearse for 3 shows?
Yeah.
So yeah, it usually that's it when it just stacks up, and you're like, okay, you got to make it worth your while, and that's probably basically what's going to happen. So we'll see how it goes.
How likely are you, do you think, or is the desire there to come down to Australia?
Oh, of course, I would love to. I have a lot of friends, so that would be great. I have a good time. Freaking be, hell yeah.
Gotcha. All right, last words from you. What do you want to say to people about this album here? It's a cracker of an album, fantastic artwork. I'd love to see the T-shirt hint with the tour dates, the Australian tour dates on the back. I'd buy that for sure, no doubt. But you've got a lot of fans out there that have been waiting for this album, and you've got a lot of fans that are diehard supporters of what you're doing.
Man, I would say I can't believe that it's people still enjoy what we do, and especially after a whole another generation of people. 17 years is a lifetime, and I'm just appreciative that the metalheads out there, we all love it. We want that freaking feeling. And I appreciate that people enjoy what I do and I just hope that you enjoy this record and feel how I felt when I was writing it. And I hope it helps people get that feeling so that they can take out their aggressions in other ways. And that's what metal is about. Let's go to a show. Let's freaking all have fun together. Let's fucking pound it out instead of just being get your negativity out that way instead of and be nice. When you leave a show, after you leave a show, everybody's got a smile on their face, and that's what it's about. Fucking metal.
I agree. Thanks for keeping the flame alive too. Life can tend to get in the way of these things, but you've stayed true to your muse, and you've got a killer album here, and I'm sure it'll reach everybody who wants to hear another killer Sadus album. So there you go.
Thank you so much, Andrew. I appreciate your support, man.
Anytime, brother. Hopefully see you down here soon.
That would be awesome. First round is on me. All right.
Thanks, brother. I'll take you up on that. Right. No worries, brother.
That sounds good.
Catch you, mate.
Have a good one.
What a nice fella. I enjoyed that conversation with the great Darren Travis from Sadus. He's been at it as long as anybody. One of the pivotal players in the evolution of extreme metal, it must be said. All right. If you enjoyed that chat, there are many more just like it over at scarsandguitars.com. And if you like Cradle of Filth, you're in luck, because I've had plenty of chats with those mainly ex-band members now. Not hard to say that, is it? Given the band has almost 40 tenured band members. But yeah, a lot of deep dives there into what goes on in that group. If you're unfamiliar, check it out. Otherwise, heaps of conversations available. Other hallowed members of the extreme metal community, members of Death, Testament, Cannibal Corpse, Morbid Angel. Need I go on? Some newer stuff too, plenty of newer stuff too. Wes Houck from Alluvial, he's over there. Would love to chat to Josh Travis from Amur one day. I noticed that they are touring Australia sometime in the new year, so I'll probably go along and check out that group too. Anyway, heaps of stuff over at the website. Go along and check it out. And I've also written a book, and I've got some more information to share with you about it in the moment. But before I get to that, I need to bid you a fond farewell. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith, and I host the Scars and Guitars podcast. Until next time, it's a very goodbye for now.
This is Eric Rattan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew Mackay-Smith.
I've been the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast since 2017. The first musician I interviewed for the show was David Vincent from Morbid Angel, and things have just snowballed from there. In all, I've posted almost 650 podcast episodes featuring conversations with many of the leading lights of rock, heavy metal, and beyond. It just got to a point where I thought, I need to write a book about all this, so that's exactly what I did. In Scars and Guitars Volume 1, you'll read a heap of deep reveals and commentary, such as Des Fafara talking about Cold Chamber and why the band will never return.
You know, if you're a band just starting out, you need to hear me. Do not start a band with partners. Ever.
Yeah, wise words there. Sage advice, mate, for anybody.
Don't ever, because I can't go do Cold Chamber right now unless I get others involved.
Phil Anselmo talks about the episode in his career which gives him the greatest sense of accomplishment.
I think the staying power of the fans and the staying power of the songs, you know, whether it's Pantera, Down, or Superjoint, the fans remember the songs.
Alex Skolnick from Testament confirms that, yes, playing the guitar in Ozzy's band is anything but an ordinary gig. Will Silent Oz from Dimmu Borgir write a book? Pa from Sabaton gives advice to people who want to start a band.
Look at the team around you, look at the bandmates. If the guys want to be on the stage, then it's all cool. If the guys want to be backstage, then it's not going to be cool.
Current and former members of Cradle of Filth discuss the band's seminal 90s material. Read about the reaction to George Lynch and Mark from Suicide Silence's comments when they throw shade at then President Donald Trump.
We have this idiotic monster, you know, this egotistical, self-aggrandizing, complete piece of shit in there. I just can't understand how we've gotten to this place.
And yeah, we kicked a hornet's nest with Sepultura. Percussive overlord Gene Hoglan talks about recording with Chuck Schuldiner.
Chuck was always, he was very open-minded, and he was into having his musicians that were playing with him just reach out for the best stuff that they had.
Phil Campbell from Motorhead discusses what it takes to get sober. John Five answers his critics who dismiss his tenure with Marilyn Manson.
You know, my name is John Five, and Manson gave me that name, and I had some of the best years of my life in that band and learned a lot.
And we get the lowdown on Treyarch Zagtoth from those who would know, including his mother. All across Scars and Guitars Volume 1, there are moments of tension, relief, tragedy, exhilaration, and throughout it all, you'll obtain insight that I believe no one else has managed to obtain from many of your favourite artists. So treat yourself. Scars and Guitars Volume 1 is currently available as an ebook with a print edition on the horizon. Follow the links attached and download a sample. I'm sure you'll be compelled to read the whole book.